I've developed something I call the ROI scorecard, and it's a very simple model that basically compares results to effort. The things that should or could or you believe will deliver the most value for the least effort should be the things that are highest on your priority list, right? They should be the things that you do first. If you can quickly begin to deliver some value, you can harvest that value, and that gives you the money, the bandwidth, the team, the runway that you need to work on the next priorities. So this is a simple return on investment or bang for the buck sort of formula, the sort of thing that people do to judge, I think, in the back of their minds automatically, but we're going to reduce it here to a simple mathematical formula. But let's define our terms. How do you tell value from effort? Well, the effort is the time and resources required to execute on an initiative. In most software companies, the constrained resource is engineering time. So you can measure effort probably in terms of how much effort is it going to be to develop this thing or to solve this problem. Value, on the other hand, is expected contribution to those business objectives that we were talking about earlier and to customer needs. So if we could measure both of these maybe and compare them, maybe we could come up with a prioritization. One of the key things here is to recognize that when you start talking about your business objectives, most organizations and most software teams have more than one goal, more than one business objective. They want to grow the number of customers, but they also want revenue and they also want profit. Or they want any number of other business objectives. I think it would be possible to have a scorecard with way too many objectives on it and make it difficult to use. I recommend that the sweet spot is somewhere around 3, between 2 and 4 business objectives that you're shooting for is manageable and usually covers most of what you're trying to accomplish. So you can actually go through, take an idea like your proposed HTML5 redesign, and you can score it against your business objectives. And if you have 3 business objectives, well, you have 3 scores and you can add them up, and that gives you your total value for that particular idea in terms of its ability to deliver on your business objectives. In theory, there can be different types of effort as well. You could have both research effort as well as engineering effort, or design as well as engineering, or marketing could have its own type of effort. In practice, though, it's often simple enough and straightforward enough to have just one effort term in your formula, and that's the development effort. One other element to this formula, and that is confidence. Confidence is sort of the inverse of risk. It's your confidence, that your certainty that your scores are correct, that the level of effort you think is correct. You haven't done it yet, so you can't be 100% confident, and that the ideas that you have will, your confidence that they will deliver the value that that you estimate. Again, you won't know for sure until you test them out in the world with customers. So all of this is a little bit of a guess up front, and your confidence score allows you to set your level of confidence in those guesses. If you really have never done something like this before and you've not tested it with customers, your confidence is probably low. If you have, if this is another feature like one you've done before that was a crowd pleaser before, well, then your confidence is probably high. So you can take those value over effort scores, multiply them by your confidence score, and you get a simple prioritization score. Let me show you what this looks like in practice, give you an example. So I don't know how many of you maybe saw a couple of years ago, Elon Musk got up and gave us his presentation on the roadmap to Mars as CEO of SpaceX. And he outlined in it, it was actually a really great roadmap presentation, 4 problems they needed to solve in order to make going to Mars an economically viable plan. Full reusability of the rockets, refueling in orbit, propellant production for the return trip on Mars, and the right chemical propellant that had the right performance characteristics and could be produced on Mars. And if you imagine that Elon had 3 different objectives that might be about affordability and reliability or whatever, you could imagine that he could go through and do a scoring of each one of these 4 characteristics, these 4 problems that he felt were important to solve, as to how much value they were going to deliver and how much effort they were going to entail. Here we've used a very simple scale. I'll get to that more in a minute. If we look at the full reusability problem to solve, its value to helping out with objective 1, which maybe would be reliability, is 2. 2 out of a possible 2, so it's high. And its value to objective number 2, whatever that is, maybe cost, is also 2. And for number 3, it's also 2. So it gets the maximum score of 6 out of a possible 6. And the effort turns out to be relatively low. Effort is only 1. So 6, 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6, divided by 1 equals 6. And maybe confidence that we can achieve that, and that it will, if we do achieve it, it will deliver the value, is 75%. So 75% of 6 is 4.5. You go through and you do the scores for all the other things. Maybe the right propellant doesn't have any value to objective number 1, but it has high value to objective number 3, for example. And maybe it's greater effort, an effort of 2. So that's 2 divided by 2 is 1. And we're only 10% confident in that. So you get a really low priority score. And these ranked scores at the end just tell you, well, which ones of these things should we work on first? We should work on reusability first. And in fact, if you've been following the recent launches of the Falcon rockets, that's exactly what they've been focused on, is being able to bring the rockets back down safely so they can be reused. You can use exactly this formula in a spreadsheet very simply for your feature prioritization, for your problem prioritization, for your initiative prioritization. Just make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Now you'll notice I'm using a very simple scale here. I think it's actually a mistake to try to get overly precise about your estimates. I don't think you should be using person months or sprints for your effort estimates. I don't think you should be using dollars for your revenue estimates. It gets you into too many arguments about precisely, well, is it a $950,000 or does it cross the $1 million threshold in opportunity? I don't know. And actually, it's not that important at this stage. We're not actually trying to do a project plan yet. So precise estimates not necessary. And we're not actually trying to do a revenue forecast. So precise revenue estimates not necessary. All we're trying to do is rank these things and see which ones are more promising than the others. We can then delve in more depth into the ones that rise up to the top. So I like simple scales like t-shirt sizing. My favorite scale actually for prioritization is 0, 1, or 2. 0 means, or it's sort of high, medium, and low, right? And 0 means it's low. In fact, I'm discounting low down to 0 because I don't really care about things that have a low ROI. And 1 is medium and 2 is high. Exactly how high is high? It doesn't matter. It just means relative to the other things, it's high.